You know, my thought is you have to be open and honest and transparent about where you're at. And so that to me is the beginning of building upon what you have. If you're constantly in denial and you make excuses, or you're not really accepting where you're at on the playing field, then I think you can't really honestly make those improvements that you need to make. So obviously all of our schools are at different places. Some schools, it's even as different as many of our teachers are high flyers and they're doing very well, and others may not be achieving the results that they need. So you have to be very honest at all levels. You have to be honest at the district level, you have to be transparent about where you're at, and then you have to be that way in the schools itself. You have to even drill down to the teacher and say, okay, in the 3rd grade, we have 2 teachers, and we may have one teacher that's achieving a very high level of results, and the other teacher that may not. Well, then how are we going to build up all of our staff so that we're all achieving what we need to do? And so it's a matter of adopting a process in how we're going to make those gains. And so one of the things that has worked in my previous district is adopting professional learning communities, and finding a process in which teachers team up together, and then they build upon the strengths and they mentor each other, so that you take the skills of a teacher that's doing extremely well, perhaps in math, but maybe not so well in English language arts, and you team them up together so that they can build upon each other's strengths and help build up the skills, so that all kids are getting the benefit of those 2 strengths at all grade levels. One of the things that I found when I came to this district is we haven't purchased textbooks in 10 to 15 years in some areas, and particularly in elementary. They have not seen new reading textbooks in 15 years. I would argue that that is a problem, and that is really unacceptable. So we have already identified a source of dollars, and we're saying we need to rectify this. How can we ask our teachers to do the jobs that they need to do if we're not even providing them with the adequate tools or the high quality resources that they need to do the job? So we're going to be piloting new reading textbooks, and we're piloting new math textbooks in our elementary schools, and with the idea that we're going to purchase new materials before the end of the year. And so I think right then and there, you know, you're going to arguably take a lot of time that our teachers are putting into finding materials and resources to help them teach the Common Core. We can find textbooks that are going to already be aligned to those standards, and now we've now taken the burden away from our teachers to find resources and materials into, okay, you've got the materials that you need, now let's look at the student. Is the student mastering these concepts? If not, what are you going to do to intervene and to provide them with interventions in the areas that they're not achieving? And then if they are, then what kind of enrichment opportunities are you going to provide? I guess it's a matter of, what do you want your teachers to spend their time doing? Do you want them to spend the time finding materials, or do you want them to spend their time actually analyzing their data and helping the individual student? And so I think that right now our teachers are spending a lot of time on something that is not as useful and is not going to yield the results that we want to see happen. Well, in some respects, I think Common Core, the Common Core standards are going to help, because in the United States, we've tended to design our curriculum where you have, if you will, everything in the kitchen sink. I mean, it's just too much, and you expect all of your teachers to accomplish teaching all of these standards. Well, Common Core actually now narrows it down, but actually makes it much, much deeper. So students are really going into depth with a lot of the standards, as opposed to having to do, 5 miles long of all of these standards that are required of them to teach. So in some respects, I think because it's going to be deeper and not as wide, I think that there's going to be more time to actually get into some of those areas that you talked about.
So-
You know, so it's not as much on the teacher to have to teach 1,000 standards, maybe just 10. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
well, I'll focus on this community, and I will say Kent Forward is obviously it could be a very huge plus for the school district, in that if you've got that level of support, I can only imagine my colleagues in New Mexico would be very jealous, in that it's often hard to get people to, there's just so much apathy about, oh, you know, it's your problem. They can criticize, but nobody really wants to put their money where their mouth is, if you will. So to have a group that's willing to say, what do you need? What can we do to support you? I think is a huge benefit for me as a superintendent. But I would even go a little bit deeper and say that the school district needs to do a better job of engaging the community and helping us define what we should be about. So you've got Kent Forward, that's one group, but you know, what do our parents think, and what's our retirement community think about what our schools should be? So the board and I are going to be reaching out to the community and asking community members to come in and share with us, you know, what would they like our students to be able to master, or what if they could pick the ideal school district, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? I really am having fun. I've been out to all the schools. One of the things that I wanted to do is typically, I guess everybody was called, all the staff was called to the high school, and you had one giant meeting. I did not want to do that. That really is not a way to get to know your staff, get to know them in their, because basically they spend more time at their school in many cases than they do their own homes once school starts. So it was important for me to get out and have a personal conversation with the staff, talk to them about what I envisioned for the school district, and how I wanted to engage them to be part of the solution, and some of the things that we're planning for this year, and have an opportunity to have, because oftentimes each school is a little bit unique, and so some of their concerns at concerns at one school may not be the concerns at another school. So you need to have and allow that individualism to occur, and you can't do that unless you go out to the schools. And then in addition to that, this first week of school this week, so I made sure I went around to each of the schools, and I got to actually welcome the pre-K students at 2 of our elementary schools, so that was fun. And they're always so cute. So, and you know, what better way to reaffirm why we're in this business than to be out there with the kids. So I got